Hey everybody, welcome back to Project Premium Harvest. This is a little account update, and then I'm going to discuss in more details certain metrics as to why I even undertook this project in the first place. Because for me, I'm a big numbers guy, and the numbers made sense before even diving into anything like this. So if you see my account right now, after a week of doing this specific strategy, I'm up about $12,000. About June 7th, before the premium distribution, I had about $97,000 to $102,000, and then after premiums and then price appreciation of my specific underlying, I'm at $115,000, $114,000. But no one. This is just a quick Robinhood update, and then now let's crunch the actual numbers and discuss what I'm doing here. In my last video, I kind of talked about all the different metrics here, discussing the starting variable. So none of these have changed. This is my original amount of money I put in is $102,355, and then some of my policies, right? I'll discuss these numbers the next time we have like an ex-dividend date, declaration date, and then premium distribution date. And some of these numbers are going to change, like how much left is in my remaining HELOC. But let's go into the projections. And this is let me just zoom in a little bit here. So this is how I'm coming up with my specific numbers of I want to pay off my HELOC loan in 18 months. And then I'm pretty much going to reuse that HELOC loan again and then invest all the money into AMZY and then do it again. So let's kind of discuss two different scenarios, right? So my first policy that I mentioned about the 75% payoff loan and then 25% reinvest back into NVDY. Here's kind of like a little spreadsheet as to what that actually means, right? So starting off, the initial premium is going to be about $5,800. And the way I came up with this initial premium number is I compiled the average for each fund every single month. So basically in NVDY, I took every single distribution and came up with the average. So it's 1.24. And I did the same thing for AMZY and TSLY in my other projection spreadsheets. So the number here I used was 1.24, and then the monthly growth rate is 1%. It's technically 4%, but because I'm only doing a 25% reinvestment, it was just easier to put 1% instead of 4. So over here kind of explains the numbers. So 75-25 policy. This is the yield. So how many shares I own. This is the $140,225 is how much I own in NVDY. And this is what the monthly initial premium was going to look like. And this is the yield. So 0.041 is 4.1%. So then I just 1% into reinvestment. And then here's the HELOC loan number and then the goal 18-month payoff. So the way this works is the first premium with a 1% growth rate compounded brings down the loan to about $78,751. I just made my payment, so once I update it, I'll actually update this spreadsheet and then my tracking harvesting spreadsheet. But let's just kind of talk about the projections. And then basically, if I kept everything status quo the same, the initial premium stayed the same of this, it would take me about 18 months from June until November 2025 to pay off this specific loan, and then I start making money. And so the reason why I am choosing the 75-25 is because every single month I'm reinvesting 25% back into NVDY. So every single month, in theory, my premium should be growing. So by the time it comes to November 2025, my HELOC loan is paid off and I have some cash left over. And then my premium grew to $6,873. So it increased about $1,000 in 18 months, right? So that's a good thing. Moving over into a 100% loan repayment option, let's discuss the numbers. So pretty much everything else was the same. This was the yield, the average yield, shares I own, initial premium, and then it would take about 14 months to pay off the loan, but there's kind of a different caveat here as to why I didn't choose this specific route of 100% loan repayment, right? So as you can see, starting off the HELOC about 77,000 after the first payment, drops down to in August of 2025, the loan would have been paid off, right? And then from this point, but the premium is still at $5,800. And then from this point, for the initial premium to get to the 75-25 strategy, it would actually take 19 months to get that similar premium, or 19 to 20 months. So my long term here is not necessarily the asset value. I don't really care about the asset value. I care about how much monthly premium is coming in every single month. And for me, the one that makes more sense is the 75-25. And then in this black section, I kind of annotated 3 points for the 75-25 strategy, and then 4 points for the 100% loan repayment. So the why on the 75-25. I basically, at the end of 18 months, get a free $83,000 by leveraging Robinhood margin against it. And then I increase my monthly premium. So the reason why I also wanted to choose this route is since NVDY is such a great stock and everyone has a great demand for their different chipsets for the AI, and AI is the future. I think NVIDIA is going to be the cheapest now than it is going to be in 18 months. So for me, I think it behooves me and the strategy to buy more shares sooner than wait the 14 months and then continue to add and buy shares at a more hiked up price, right? I increase the premium, and then NVIDIA will probably have been cheaper earlier than later. And then here are my notes for the 100% NVIDIA loan repayment and get the free $83,000, pay off loan faster. But like I mentioned earlier, NVIDIA will probably, spelled probably wrong, will be more expensive in August 2025 than it will be just accumulating the shares over time. And then it takes roughly the same amount of time or more to get the same amount of premium as the 75-25 strategy. And so that's kind of just like the quick loan repayment. Now let's look at future prospects, right? The long term of this, as long as everything stays status quo like this, these are some potential numbers that you can expect to see, right? So initially we start off with the 75-25 model policy of paid off by November 2025, paid off, getting an initial premium of like $6,800, $7,000 a month. This is a month, right? And let's just kind of run through and look at these numbers after, 10 years, right? Let's do 5 years first. We don't want to get ahead of ourselves. But after 5 years, the monthly premium that I'm going to be getting from this specific strategy is $38,000, $224.02. And then the net value would be about $407,000 that I added onto it, right? This isn't even counting for my day job. This is just money that I'm getting every single month doing nothing. It's like having my own private employee, right? Now, fast forward 5 more years from June 2029, and the numbers just keep getting better, right? So by June 2034, my monthly distribution, my monthly premium is going to be $402,000 every single month, and a portfolio value of $5,000. That's absolutely insane, and numbers that don't even make sense for me. I double check, triple check the numbers. The one thing I will add about this is I don't have the tax bracket accounted for this. That's kind of what I was just going to do with tracking it on my project premium harvesting chart here, the actual numbers. But here, this is just kind of like long-term theory and just kind of crunching numbers. So I didn't actually crunch the tax. Maybe I'll add it later. I kind of just wanted to get another video out here. But then if we look at the 100% loan repayment after the 10 years, the 75-25 model is actually making more money than the 100% loan repayment, but the end yield is more money. So, all right, so that was discussing the gamble with NVDY and paying off the HELOC loan. But then now I'm going to talk about my 50-50 policy, where I do 50% reinvestment back into the yield max fund and then 50% investment into SPY. And the reason why I'm doing this policy of 50-50 and then the two specific yield max funds are AMZY and TSLY is because these yield max funds are so infant and so new that we don't actually have any data for the long term, right? I came up with that spreadsheet. I did a 10-year prediction. It almost seems too good to be true. So I kind of wanted to keep something grounded. So if I basically not necessarily lose that money or break even on the NVDY gamble, at least over time, and I do this 50-50 strategy, I'll have a solid SPY like ETF, a core foundation of SPY, and then I'll have a little bit of money coming in and I'll have something left over, you know. So let's just kind of crunch the numbers and see what it looks like after about 18 months and then long term here. So these are kind of the numbers I came up with. So this is AMZY 50-50 strategy. The average yield for AMZY is about 0.64365. I got that from the average. So I took every single distribution and then averaged it out. And so it turned into 0.64. I currently own 1,125 shares of AMZY. The dollar amount is about $25,000, and the initial yield's about $724. The monthly growth rate is at 2.9%. And then for a 50-50 growth rate, I basically just divided and did the 1.45 monthly growth, as in the reinvest back into AMZY, and then the other half of this growth rate, this 2.9, is I'm throwing that into SPY. Right. So after a certain amount of time, let's see, like a year and a half from now, 18 months from now, it's the initial premium for AMZY started at $724.11 and it grew to about $938.29. And then my account value gained about it would potentially gain about $8,000. And then this is how much SPY I would have bought in that time period, is almost $7,900, right? But if we look at the long-term strategy, these numbers aren't as sexy as what I'm doing with NVDY right now. But you have the typical numbers that I mentioned earlier, started at 24,000. Let's fast forward 10 years. Okay. Let's fast forward 10 years. At the end of 10 years, doing this 50-50 strategy, my monthly distribution will be about $4,000. I would have my AMZY account value is at $142,000, and then my SPY value at $117,000. So I'm pretty much making, getting a free $10,000 of SPY every single year by doing this strategy once I hit that 10-year mark. So now I'm going to look at TSLY, kind of look at that same thought process, a 50-50 strategy, yield 0.7085. I own 1,129 shares. The dollar value is about 17,000. Yield, monthly growth rate 50-50. So basically took this number in half, 50% reinvestment back into TSLY and then 50% into SPY. So after about 18 months, the premium is going to be about $1,000. The total value would have increased about $8,500 in TSLY. And then in that time period, I would have purchased about $8,700 in SPY. Now let's look at the 5 and 10 year marker, June 2025. So in about 5 years, the monthly premium is going to be about $1,900. The amount of account value for TSLY would be about $55,000, and then the SPY bought is about $38,000. So very conservative numbers compared to NVDY. And then the 10-year marker, in 10 years, I'll have about $4,500 monthly premium. The AMZY dollar amount value is about $150, and then the SPY value is $132,000. But let's look at it this way, right? Say I work for 10 more years in my current job, and then I leave this as status quo between AMZY and TSLY, not even counting NVDY, because those numbers almost seem like too good to be true. But at the end of 10 years from now, I'll be making about $8,500 a month doing nothing. And then I would have increased my SPY account value to about $250,000. And then in addition to that, what AMZY total dollar amount is and the TSLY dollar amount. So in that time period, I almost gained $500,000, almost $600,000 in 10 years, not adding a single dollar of my own money into this. Right? Basically, I initially put this money in there initially from either margin or amount I bought earlier, but after I put this money in, this is 10 years of not doing a single thing. And that's the same thing with NVDY too, right? I do this gamble, I pay off the HELOC, and then I just reinvest as premiums. This is what it's going to look like. This is what's going to look like in 10 years, 5 years. I mean, I'm going to have to do taxes. I'm going to really hate that part. Yeah, I'm really going to hate doing taxes, but that's just those are a couple of different options we have here. And then now I decided to do a bold strategy, right? So after I pay off my NVDY HELOC, if it's successful and if I'm getting the results I think I'm going to get, or I thought I was going to get in the 18 months it is to pay it off, and then the premiums afterwards, and it's not that far off, there isn't like a crazy market crash, I'm pretty much going to do the same thing, because the way the HELOC loan works, you can use the loan, pay it off, right? And then you still have to have the loan for 5 more years, right? That's at least the way the lender explained it to me. I still have to have the loan for 5 more years before I can have it like officially paid off, and it goes out of my my loan web portal. So you might as well use it again while it's waiting. So it's going to take 18 months for NVDY to pay the loan itself off, and then it's going to take 21 months if I do the same 75-25 strategy with AMZY to pay off that HELOC loan. So in 39 months, I'll have 2 like completely massive harvested silos of money just producing every single month. And after that, after 39 months or 38 months, I really don't need to work anymore because of how much money's coming in. So let's kind of crunch through the numbers for the AMZY variables of 75-25. Right. So kind of mentioned same input. I basically took the HELOC loan plus 75 margin of that, and then I forget what exactly share price I use. I think it's the one I have in my Robinhood. I think it's like $22.77 of what Amazon's worth. That's actually higher than it is right now, because right now it's like 21.50 or 22. So I actually I like highballing it and setting the expectation really low for this to succeed. So let's kind of just crunch in the numbers, right? So the initial premium of doing that and owning $164,000 of AMZY, the premium I'll be getting every single month is about $4,661, right? And yeah, so every month it would grow by 0.725% because it's 0.29 divided by 4, and I'm only reinvesting 25% back into it. So after 18 months, the premium distribution would grow from 4,661 to about $5,308, right? So that's about a $700 growth rate in 18 months, which is not too great, but it's something, right? And as you can see, the HELOC loan after that 18 months isn't paid off. It actually takes 21. So let's go further down and crunch these numbers, right? So it's going to take 21 months for that second HELOC loan to pay for itself off. And let's see here. Yeah, it'd be about that initial premium would be $5,581. And let's kind of look at the 5-year marker of after that loan is paid off, where we're at. So let's go to June 2029, right? So after June 2029, if I reinvest all the dividends back into AMZY, I'd be making $16,540 a month. That is significantly more than I'm making now in my job, right? So that's just after 5 years, right? And then after 10 years of reinvesting that money, I'd be making $94,000 a month. This just seems just way too good to be true, right? This isn't accounting for taxes. I'm in a high tax bracket because I make a decent amount of money. But these numbers, these $94,000 a month, seems a little crazy. I don't think, like, once I have the loan paid off, I don't think I would reinvest every single dollar back into this. So from this point on, I should probably come up with like the 50-50 model, because I want to make sure I don't lose all of my money if I'm gaining all of my money. But yeah, these are kind of the numbers of what I did and what kind of sold me into doing this specific project in the first place. So I hope you guys enjoy the video. I had fun creating these spreadsheets. I literally couldn't sleep the last couple of nights because all these numbers and thoughts were running my head. I just want to make the money now. But you do have to be a little bit patient. If you can wait the amount of time to pay off a loan, it's just gravy on the cake, right? So, and I kind of give a little bit more feedback as to my situation, as to why I even did this in the first place, right? So I make a decent amount of money at my W-2 job, right? So I'm maxing out my 401k, I'm maxing out my Roth IRA, doing like the back door because I make too much money, and then I'm maxing out the HSA. And then for me, I'm like, what can I do to exponentially increase my wealth? So I've always been a fan of like SCHD with the appreciation of the stock and then the 3.5% dividend yield. And I'm just like, man, I'm gonna have to wait 30 years of like continuously working to get like even $1 million or something close to that kind of number. And I was like, man, I wonder if there was like a mechanism that can get us there faster. And that mechanism is the yield max funds, right? Yeah, they're a little infant. They don't have as much data behind it, but I'd be willing to give it a shot for me to, like, instead of retiring at 59 and a half years old, I can retire at 35, 40, you know. So I think this is a potential great strategy as long as everything plays out. So for me, I was already doing all of the right things. I already am doing the right things of investing into the tax advantage accounts. Now I was like, now I wanted to do something to continuously enhance the next step, right? And this is it. This is a project I undertook, and it just made sense at the time. And success for me is if I can get this loan paid off and make premium. How much premium doesn't really matter, but as long as I can pay off this HELOC loan, that's a success. Anything else on top of that is gravy on top, right? So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. There's some good insight in here. I don't know if you guys want this spreadsheet. These numbers are kind of more for like my situation. I might add the 37% tax, and then once I pay off the HELOC loan, kind of change the numbers to go into like a 50-50 model. But this is kind of just to get an idea of what to expect doing this strategy. So yeah, thank you guys. Hope you guys liked the video. If you thought it was pretty interesting and want to see how far this can go, subscribe, because I'm going to be making videos more and more often every time there's a distribution of yield and next dividend date. So yeah, hope to see you again.